So, welcome to the Groova podcast. We have an amazing multi-instrumentalist, possible professional footballer, Peckham boy, ex-model, and founder member of one of the most probably iconic UK soul groups, Loose Ends, Mr. Steve Nicol. Welcome. Thanks for coming, man. Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure.
So it's me, Jason Eli here, Mr. Paul Tilley.
Yep.
Pleasure to meet you, Steve. So, lifelong Loose Ends fans here. So, I think it's going to be a great interview.
Okay, so first question. How did it start? What got you into music?
I luckily had a really, really good music teacher at my secondary school, Franz Buzatil. He's not here with us. He only died a few months ago. And we all sort of got together and went to the funeral. But he actually said to me I had a really good ear for music. We started off in a choir at school, and after a couple of months he said, why don't you take up an instrument? And the trumpet came out, and I actually decided, that's quite a good instrument. I had a good embouchure for it, so basically that's what happened. So I started at school on classical music, and by the time I was 18, I'd done all my grade 8s, grade 8 in piano and grade 8 in trumpet.
By what age, sorry?
By 16, in fact. 16 years old, I'd done my grade 8 piano, grade 8
I wish
trumpet.
I'd worked that hard. I discovered alcohol by the time I was 13, so it was like, it was all over.
We discovered that well early as well, trust me. Being a brass player at school, we were like playing in the orchestra, and with the amount of breaks that we had rest, we were like down the pub and everything at 14.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Those ages, terrible we were.
You managed to keep practicing in between all of it, obviously.
Yeah, I used to do about 5 hours a day on the trumpet.
That's what I read that. Like, how do you find that much time?
Yeah, 5 hours on the trumpet and then another couple of hours on the piano.
That's incredible.
Well, in those days, we had that time, didn't we? There was no such thing as the internet, no Game Boy.
Yeah, of course.
To be disciplined and focused.
Yeah, it was like kick the can. You want to go outside and play in the garden with your brothers. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything techno-like to make us go out. Yeah. So we actually just stayed in and worked. Really, that's what we did.
So we're really interested, obviously, to find out and understand the beginnings of Loose Ends. So I understand that you met Jane at the London School of Fashion. Is that correct?
I met her at the London School of Fashion because my partner at the time was doing a fashion design course there. Yep. So I was up there quite frequently, and I think it was after a fashion show that I was actually modelling in, because I was doing a lot of modelling at the time. And we were talking at this party, and it was going to be her best friend that was going to sing. Yeah. Her best friend turned around to me and said to me, well, actually, that girl over there, Jane, she's got a better voice than me. Why don't you approach her? Wow. So she sacrificed herself.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how it happened.
That's
but we're all
incredible.
still good friends, even her mate, Debbie.
Debbie,
Yeah.
And talk us through, because so you and Jane first met, and so how did Carl then get involved? And also I understand it was a bit of a bigger collaborative as well at that time.
Yeah, it started off with looking for bass players, and we went through so many different bass players. Well, 3 we got it down to in the end. George Bromfield, Georgie Bromfield is a group association.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He was going to be the original bass player. Yeah. But he went on to do Second Image.
Right.
And Carl was there, but Carl could play guitar. And we wanted to have a quite more versatile and utilise everything that we could actually do. So we had guitarists and a bass player in one, and a vocalist. Mm-hmm. So Carl came on board, so then it became Loose End. But we had extra musicians at the same time. We had about 9 people in the band to start with. And then when we got to doing In the Sky, the very first single, they said, you need to cut this band down, down to the minimum. Yeah. So a lot of heartache, a lot of heartbreak and stuff, but we got it down to 3.
The 3 of you.
Yeah. And so we were initially Loose End. recording in London.
So you did the two tracks with "We've Arrived" being the second track under Loose End, and then I understand that there was somebody who was going to sue you for
Mike Reed.
Mike Reed, is that the DJ Mike Reed?
The DJ Mike
It's
Reed.
just incredible. The DJ was like,
A guy called Mike Reed.
Yeah.
He was the same guy.
Yeah, I didn't realise that was the same guy. So that's really
It was
interesting.
the same guy, the DJ Mike Reed.
Yeah.
Was going to sue us.
So what did
he had a company.
Oh, so he had a company called
Loose
Loose
End.
Okay, got you.
And so all we had to do, not to get sued, was just put an S on.
Putting the S on the end.
Yeah. Just put the S on, all solved.
Brilliant. Yeah. So, can you give me an idea of what it was like for you as a musician back then? Because I guess your dream was to be in a successful band, like as a British musician who was into soul music. Did you?
My dream was just to be a good musician. Right. And the fact is, I just enjoyed playing music, whether it be classical, jazz, pop, rock. Doesn't matter.
So you weren't thinking, I want to be in.
No, because music is such a universal language. You know, it affects you in all different ways, emotionally.
Yes.
So and I'm quite an emotional chap. So, if I was feeling down, I knew I could go on a piano and I could play something to lift me, or go on a trumpet and play something.
Right.
So that was like my escapism, basically. So I just really wanted to be a good musician. I wasn't really thinking about the success.
Right.
It was only that when I started playing with London School Symphony Orchestra, playing trumpet, we did a tour of America. We went to America for the bicentennial celebrations, 1976.
Wow.
Now I'm showing my age.
Can we ask how old you were then?
16.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we went to America as an exchange. They brought an American orchestra over here to England, and we went to represent England in America. Wow. So we played at Carnegie Hall, Hollywood Bowl, Orchestra Hall, Chicago. We played around.
You were 16.
You were 16.
Yeah,
You were a heavy musician, man.
Yeah, we were playing.
You can play.
Quite
You can
a lot.
play.
It was quite funny that was doing that at that time. So London School Symphony Orchestra at 16. Then just as I was finishing Guildhall, I met up with Keith Thomas, who was saxophonist for Second Image.
Right.
But he wasn't really playing the Second Image at the time. I'm not sure if he was playing the Second Image at the time. But he was doing a lot of shows anyway. But he introduced me to Paul Weller. They needed a brass section. So we went down to Olympus Studios, or NOMI Studios actually, down by Olympia. And met up with Paul, and he needed saxophonist and a trumpet player for his album.
Wow. Yes.
And to rehearse, to do some live shows. At that time, I didn't know I was going to go on the road with Paul Weller.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but within a week, he's saying to us, do you guys fancy coming on the road with us? It'll be like about a year.
Wow.
So,
and how old were you at this time?
I was 19.
19.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would have been an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, 19 years old, I think, that time.
Cool. So the first three records that you did, they don't appear on any of the albums at all.
No.
So could you talk us through? So obviously the emergence of A Little Spice as your first album as a concept. We were saying, I mean, everyone talks about Hanging on a String being the biggest tune, but we remember Dial 999, etc. That there were these and Tell Me What You Want, etc. That there were these hits. So I mean, talk us through that time, creating A Little Spice as an album.
Mick Clark, who's not with us anymore, that's
so he's the A&R guy at Virgin.
He's the A&R guy at Virgin. Well, he used to work at City Sounds in Holborn.
Oh, the record shop in Holborn, yeah.
So somebody told me to take the stuff down City Sounds. So I went to City Sounds and they said, oh, well, the guy you want to see is Mick Clark. He's just got this job at Virgin.
Brilliant.
And, phone him and he'll meet you. So I met Mick Clark in South Moulton Street, outside the Hog and the Pound.
Yeah.
The pub on the corner there.
Yeah.
Right, we didn't know who each other was, this white guy standing there, this black guy standing there. We stayed there for about 15 minutes.
Checking each other out.
Checking each other out.
Where's the pink carnation?
I think he looks like an A&R man. And it was the days of cassette record players, and stuff, cassette players. So Walkmans and that. So I took out my yellow Walkman.
Yeah, brilliant.
I had a Time Sports one, collector's item now.
Of course, yeah.
And then he just listened to it down the Walkman, and said, look, come in, I want to sign you.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Simple as off a Walkman.
Wow.
That's
Brilliant.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's
Off a
incredible.
Walkman.
How would, obviously, you were pretty excited at the time, right? Were you thinking,
Yeah,
I need to take this to another label? Or were you just like, sweet?
No, I just thought, no, Virgin, Richard Branson, that's where I'm going.
That's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what it was. Richard had,
Yeah.
you know, tried and tested, you know.
Yeah.
Just getting his airline off the ground as well.
And
Freddie Laker was his mentor. And I'd already travelled on Laker.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, going to New York and Laker a few
God,
times.
blimey.
So I thought, right.
The old
that's
Sky
one.
Trains.
Yeah, that's the one I'm
The
going
Sky
for.
Trains. Yeah. So when A Little Spice came out, I mean, obviously, you know, you had your pirate radio that would play that. I mean, none of the mainstream radio stations were really investing in that kind of, you know, a black soul music.
If you think about it, it's still the same way. You know, what it is getting that needle time and getting on the A-list, B-list or C-list. You know, they just would not accept that normal people, people in general, would listen to that music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they, you know, the mainstream radio stations wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
It was always a pirate.
I guess the difference nowadays, you've got DJs like Trevor Nelson that are like on Radio 2, for God's sake, you know, and like does a pretty decent soul show.
Saying that, they still got their hands tied.
Right.
Their hands are still tied.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I spoke to Trevor
There's still a
about
strong
this.
playlist of what they have to
I
play.
spoke to Trevor about this a few months ago, and he's still got his hands tied.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So with regards to Little Spice came out, you know, there wasn't that kind of airplay push for it. So what changed for you as a group to then create So Where Are You, and obviously the smash that was Hanging on a String?
But then with Little Spice, I think it's down to the whole fashion thing and where we were doing our videos, our photo shoots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because Virgin said, well, if you don't really get a hit off of this album, we'll have to really rethink certain things and see where we want to take it to the next stage. And lucky for us, they did. And they said, okay, Richard Branson was actually really, really interested. You know, he said, well, I actually quite like this band. So Richard was the one to keep us on, really.
Well, famously, one of the album covers that you did is actually, you know, the photography's done on Necker Island.
Yeah, we went
as
to
well.
Necker.
So you went to Necker Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
We were
mate.
first band
Real
to go.
Chucky Boo, come on.
First band to go to Necker,
Yeah.
being a black band as well, we
Yeah.
were the first band to go to Necker.
Yeah.
Try. But that was a great trip, going to Necker.
Wow.
Yeah. Went there a couple of weeks before Calvin Klein and a month before Mariah Carey.
Wow.
So if I could...
Yeah, go for it.
So there's a connection there with Mariah Carey because Mariah Carey is obviously still a mashup of Stay a Little While Child.
Yeah, with Jermaine.
Yeah, exactly. Which was, you know, I mean, I only came across that sort of, I don't know, about 10 years ago, and I'm thinking, hold on a second, this is Stay a Little While Child, and like, so how did that collaboration kind of?
Jermaine actually was the one that got it together. Jermaine knew Jane really well. And Jane and Jermaine, they used to see each other out at clubs. And Jermaine said, I really would like to do this, you know, with Mariah. So I had like a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning, someone screaming down the phone to me, Mariah Carey wants to cover our song. And I'm like, half asleep, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Thinking,
It's like, whatever.
no problem.
Yeah, talk to me about it in the morning.
Yeah. So it wasn't until like a couple of hours later that I actually phoned her back.
Yeah.
Like,
Was that real?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then Mariah came on the phone and was saying, yeah, I really want to do this, you know. So there was like a little conference call.
Because
Mariah's cool.
stepping onto that, like that Zagora platform, that was quite big over in the States, I guess. You know,
Yeah, Zagora was huge.
That was huge over in the States, and I think that.
And then again on that one as well, it was all about the actual marketing and the pictures. A lot of people said that they photoshopped and everything, but no, we went to the Sahara Desert.
We
We did all that.
amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was just continuing on from the success that we had with doing the Necker shots and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was.
I mean, the whole marketing side of things and distribution was obviously that change with MCA being, you know, giving you that launch out in the
It
States.
did,
And then,
because Virgin never used to have a company out in America. They had to go through MCA at the time until when they had their own company, their own facilities and stuff.
So one of the things which always really interested me was, you know, you had your album releases, but some of the bigger hits were from B-sides. And one of the best hits is "Gonna Make You Mine."
Yes. Oh.
So "Gonna Make You Mine" it's just, I mean, it's
What's
massive.
really strange about that is that people actually think that it should have been an A-side as well. And we actually thought at the time that it should have been released as a double A-side.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, which would have been good.
Yeah.
But, you know, they say, no, only pop acts do that. Black acts don't do that.
Yeah.
But that's rubbish. You know, if you look at today's market,
it's huge.
Every track is a single now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Off an album, every track is a single. It's what is popular. It's what's the people make it popular.
Because the album was out, and you know, we're listening to the album, we're loving the album and everything. And I remember Jay phoning me up, and he's like, have you heard the B-side? I think it was on Slow Down. And he's like, you know, it's this track, "Gonna Make You Mine." And I'm like, no, it's a B-side. And couldn't stop playing it. And even and then it's been sampled constantly. I mean, like quite a few hip hop, I think De La Soul sampled it, you know. I mean, it's just been, it just sounds amazing as well.
Sampled a couple of our songs. I swear they've done a few of our songs, De La Soul.
Yeah. Which is incredible. And one of the things which I've always wanted to ask as well, and one of my favourite obscure tunes is Johnny Broadhead. Right. So who is Johnny Broadhead? Yes, come on.
He's just a fictitious character.
Based on who exactly?
It's not.
You can tell us.
Well, Carl came up with the idea of Johnny Broadhead, and we just decided to go in the studio and do all these grooves.
Yeah.
Right.
Just put the beat and go for just like a chat, really. It was supposed to be just a chat, and it just improvise, an improv chat.
Yeah.
And the groove came up, and we thought, oh, this is really good. Yeah. And we just went for it.
Yeah.
One thing
there were no holds barred. It was just one of those sort of things.
And it's got that feel, hasn't it? It's got like a real free kind of
like
just groove. It's like a jam, right?
Yeah. And because no one else has done it since.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody has actually taken a risk. To do something like that.
It almost had like a dub reggae kind of flavour to it, which is one of the things that made you guys a little bit unique, if you like, and gave you that UK flavour, even though a lot of your stuff was produced in the States, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that was done over here, Johnny Broadhead.
Oh, okay.
That was done in London.
Because there's two versions of it, because you've got the instrumental and you've got part 2, that came in the Zagora album, that had all of like the chat on it.
Yeah,
which is quite interesting. And that was like almost like the freestyling conversation, which were obviously quite in-jokes with you guys at the time, you know, which that kind of came across.
Because quite a few jokes on it.
Because there is humour in a lot of loose end stuff. I mean, you know, like Carl pretending to be a Mexican on a track, and like, you know, it's just
just that track.
Yeah,
that's one of my favourite tracks.
It's one of my favourites as well. The way that actually starts is just
that was like a couple of really late nights programming. The actual start of that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of alcohol was involved in that.
Yeah. But it's amazing that the record company allowed you to do that, though. You know, that the record company had that faith in you to turn around and go, okay, just do that. Go and do your thing.
They sent us off to, that album was actually, the demos were done down by Chessington at a rock star's mansion. We actually went down there for 2 weeks. There's some big rock star that's got a mansion just round the back of Chessington.
Yeah.
And it's
Can
got
you
like
name
12,
drop here, Steve?
Yeah, I'm not going to name drop. It's like 12 bedrooms and staff and servants and all this sort of stuff.
Wow.
And it's literally, we went there and he's got a big rehearsal room. And we just went into this rehearsal room and actually just started to make the album there. So after 2 weeks, we came out with the demos for the album. And then I think a week later, we were back in Philly.
Wow.
Blimey.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's what we used to do. We used to do the demos, a couple of weeks doing demos, and then take them over to Philly. You know.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Quick question. What was it like getting over to the States, and you know, because we've read a little bit about this of you sort of meeting a few of your heroes and.
Yeah. Oh God.
I mean, how was that for you guys?
I mean, first of all, it started off by going to Philly and Virgin giving us our own apartments, but we had to clean our own apartments, which was fine, didn't mind the hard work. We all had our own apartments, clean them, you know what I mean? And then the studio was like just around the corner, so everything was like really, really local. And we met some really beautiful people like Grover Washington Jr.
Oh, wow.
Gamble Enough, you know, McFadden and Whitehead, yeah, all these sort of people you meet.
Obviously.
Billy Simon, Dexter Wansel, yeah, and what's his name as well? Harold Melvin. Yeah, but Harold Melvin, it was really strange because we were in Studio 1 and he was in Studio 2 recording. And they said we needed a keyboard player to do some overdubs. Harold Melvin did. So Nicky said, I got one right here. And I'm like, what? You know? So my very first musical session, I should say, in America was playing on a Harold Melvin Blue Notes track.
Wow.
Oh my God, which
His
track
album.
was that? Yeah, which track?
Don't Give Me Up.
Oh,
Wow, we're going to check that one out.
Yeah, we're going to check that one out.
You can dig that one out, yeah. So I'm doing the keyboards on that.
Yeah.
And it was really strange, so I just had to go round to the next studio. I got paid for it as well.
Oh my
So you
God.
should.
Yeah, so you should be. My God.
It's brilliant. No, it was just an honour to be like, you know, Harold Melvin.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So going down that kind of that strain of, you know, classic tracks, etc. What's your favourite Loose Ends tune,
That's easy.
Steve? Go
So
on.
where are you?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is a beautiful tune. It's kind of hauntingly melodic. So
That is my favourite Loose Ends track.
Well, why is the obvious question?
It's just melancholic, I should say. It's moody.
Yeah.
It's really, really deep.
Yeah.
And I can just remember this day recording it. You know, recording it in the studio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Because we did it live. We did, you know, the actual track was done live. And then Jane just sang the vocals on top.
And that sort of leads me to my next question was, did you guys have a standard way of putting music together? I mean, how did you get to...
No, not really.
How did you create?
No, not really. Sometimes I'd come up with the chords, and then sometimes the bass lines. Carl would come in with the chords and stuff. Jane would have a melody, you know.
Was alcohol involved consistently?
No.
Wake up in the morning,
You know what? It wasn't. Having said that, it wasn't really.
Yeah.
No, we'd go out at night time afterwards, you know. But we'll sit down, we'd eat, we'd get some stuff from this place called the Reading Terminal in Philly, and it was like a Amish market. Right, so they used to come in on their trucks and stuff with their horse and cart with all their cooked food, and there'd be this Amish bar in the market in Reading Terminal, and we used to get some wonderful chicken from there, you know, and stuff. That used to be brought into the studio, and we sit down, tuck in, eat, write, yeah. Awesome. That's what would happen, you know. That's at pre-production stages, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then Nicky will take us in the studio, and then we'll be in the studio, and he'll say, right, let's do the backing track today.
Right.
And then some days he'll want to do just vocals and stuff like that.
Yeah. Just for people that might not know, Nicky, you're talking about
Nick Martinelli.
Your producer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Top
How
man.
influential was he on your sound?
He was like the fourth member.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Easily the fourth member.
Okay.
I mean, on Hanging on a String, he's actually doing a couple of little background sounds that sound like percussion.
Wow.
But it's actually Nick Martinelli's voice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, we just want to talk about and touch in on the breakup. So Real Chucky Boo was the last Loose Ends album.
Yeah.
And I guess at that time, so Mr. Bachelor was like a relatively like a largest hit. You know, and you had some success with that. And then it just seemed to kind of all of a sudden just pop. Like the Loose Ends bubble kind of popped.
We'd gone on tour to America, and I think that was a huge, huge tour. We were on tour with Freddie Jackson at the time, and touring by ourselves as well.
Yeah.
We'd do like 4 days a week with Freddie, and then 2 days by ourselves.
Yeah.
So we were like constantly wworking. That went on for a good month and a bit. And doing that tour, I think, really took it out of everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we ended up spending, I think, 10 days in New Orleans at one stage, because I think the truck broke down, our tour bus broke down, and we thought, a brilliant place to stay for a couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. I can think of worse places to break down.
No, I love New Orleans. I love New Orleans. You know, second to LA, I'd go New Orleans any day. So we spent a lot of time there. Then we picked back up on the tour and everything. But the touring life's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So emotions and people want to go in different directions and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think it was just an amalgamation of all those sort of things.
Yeah.
You know, people missing family and
Yeah, it's a huge commitment.
yeah.
And I guess that had been some joke, because it had been from 1982 kind of time all the way up until...
Yeah, it was constant.
You know, it was constant,
no,
really.
no let up.
Yeah.
No let up.
Yeah.
I remember reading, like, even just you guys getting your music produced and doing your albums was like massive amounts of work. Yeah. You'd be in the studio day in, day out. I mean, it's pretty intense.
Well, we used to spend like 3 months solid in Philadelphia. So we were living there basically, and in our own apartments, you know, and each year we'd like be upgraded. No, we ended up in...
As you got more successful.
Yeah, more successful.
We ended up in Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia, which is where they filmed Trading Places. You know, that opening scene with Eddie Murphy where he's on the thing, and the police like... That was like right outside our apartment building.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic.
It was crazy. So we had a doorman, we had a cleaner, we had all this sort of... At that stage... that stage was like, it's brilliant. Yeah. And then we moved down the road to Chestnut one year, which is like terrific, you know. Wow. Another thing, you know, you had your cleaner, you had this, you had that, and doormen and all this sort of business, you know.
Yeah.
Quite hilarious.
Yeah.
And then, you know, come back just before Christmas. So we would go in like September, like first week of September, and we wouldn't be back until December.
Wow.
Like 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
So we'd have Thanksgiving out there every year. You know, so we'd be eating turkey in November.
And doing it again in December.
And then doing it again at Christmas. And then you fly back in January.
Steve, so obviously Loose Ends exists now, but it's something which Carl is moving forward.
Carl has got the official Loose Ends title at the moment.
Yeah.
But that is to be disputed.
Yeah.
Jane works in America under Loose Ends.
Yeah.
And I've been working as Steve Nicol of Loose Ends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
About to drop the Loose Ends. Though.
Right. Why do you want to do that, Steve?
Because I think I've proved myself over the years as a musician and a writer, and I don't see the point of trying to drag up past when I'm doing something completely different.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to show my musicianship.
Yes.
And my versatility by just being Steve Nicol.
Of course.
You know,
so there's some exciting stuff coming from the Steve Nicol stable at the moment. So it'd be great to touch on that. We've heard some stuff, and you know, it's the irony is that this is like sort of on the back of like what you're doing at the moment, which is great. Yeah. You know, so we've heard Dangerous Romance. Which is you can still, I mean, there's, because we're fans, you can still tell there's a vibe there, and it's, you know.
Yeah, can I quickly say as well, like I was you know, telling my friends about the tune obviously and sharing it on, you know, the link and stuff, and a really good friend of mine who plays a lot of music was like, oh, yeah, I can hear that classic Loose End sound, because you played the keyboards.
But you know what's really
there's
strange?
a harmonic kind of thing going on there that you still have.
Yeah, but what's really strange, Morgan Howell, Soul Persona, was the one that put together the band there for that track.
Oh wow!
And for a couple of tracks on the album.
Right.
So I just wrote the songs.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's put the band together to actually play it live.
Yeah.
Right. So it's still the Loose End sound.
Yeah.
But it's just different musicians that are playing on it.
Yeah.
But it is Morgan Howell from Soul Persona is responsible for at least 3 or 4 tracks on the album as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In terms of doing the actual production.
Yeah.
So I have to take my hats off to him because he's a really good producer.
God, yeah.
Yeah, and he knows how to get the Loose End sound.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, it's a great sound, and we were just listening to What The before.
Yes. I love that line.
Yeah, that which is a very different direction. Do you want to talk us through that? Because there's some really exciting stuff coming from you.
Yeah, the thing is, well, thank you, first of all.
You're welcome, Steve.
But I decided to go because I favour more Latin stuff anyway. I spent I've been to Cuba and I've been to Brazil since the Loose Ends breakup. And I've always been drawn to that sort of side of the Loose Ends. You know, when it comes to Loose End stuff, we've always had a
Little Spice, for example.
Little Spice, yeah. And then Silent Talking as well.
Yeah, Silent Talking,
and that.
yeah.
But I've always gone to that sort of side. So on this album, I've done maybe 4 or 5 tracks down that road.
Yeah.
You know, but What the Hell is a bit of a jazzy a jazzy up-tempo, jazz funk track.
Yeah.
But that's quite Latin. But
It's got an energy about it.
there's a lot of energy on that track.
There's an energy. Yeah.
But there's quite a few tracks on the album that are quite energetic. I've done a track with Luna Cohen, Brazilian vocalist, and she sung it in Portuguese.
Wow.
Beautiful.
It's sung in Portuguese, and that is a jazz track as well. And that's called Aurora. There's another track on the album which is very, very jazzy as well. There's a lovely ballad.
Nice.
You do some good ballads, Steve. I must say.
This ballad is really good. It's up there with You Can't Stop the Rain, I think.
Oh wow! Really?
I would put it up there with that.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
Really, really nice ballad.
Yeah.
You know. At the moment, that's my favourite track on the album.
Can I ask you a question?
On the new album.
Go for it.
Sorry to interrupt. Just as we're touching on favourite tracks, I just wanted to kind of touch on what you think about where music is at today, because you've obviously been making music for a while. You've seen, obviously you grew up in the 70s. You guys were signed as a band in the 80s. You've seen so many musical styles kind of change over time. What do you think of modern music these days?
Modern music?
Yeah.
There's some terrific artists out there. I mean, because music has evolved. You can literally do an album at the bottom of your bed now, in your bedroom, without a problem, any problem.
Yeah.
You know, you can set up in a corner over there. I mean, lovely building, by the way.
Thanks.
You can set up in a corner, and within a week, I can guarantee I could do an album in a week, just over there in the corner. I mean, that's how easy it is for the public today.
Yeah.
So
you can also build that album and release it yourself.
Yes, exactly. I was coming to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can actually release an album yourself, do the whole thing yourself, do the marketing yourself. So in that respect, I think it's an exciting time really for music.
Yeah.
You know, gone are the days where you've got these corporate bosses to label you and put you in a pocket.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to go and work with somebody in Vegas, I don't literally need to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
I can contact them.
Yeah.
And within a week, I could have a track back from Vegas.
Yeah.
And I've gone a little bit this way on this album because half the album has been really recorded in Amsterdam, where George Anderson lives. You know, ex-Shack Attack and that. So, good recording. So the album's sounding really, really, really good. And then I've got, also on Mellow Hill, I've got Reagan Whiteside doing flute.
Wow.
And there's a good story with Reagan. I've known Reagan since she was about 9 years old. Because a friend of a friend of the family. And I met her in New York years and years ago and realised that she was playing flute and decided to contact her in Atlanta. And she said, yep, I'll do this track. And she's playing flute on Mellow Hill.
Because you used a lot of flute in Loose Ends tunes.
Yeah.
It's one of the kind of unique selling points of a Loose Ends track, that you would get this like haunting kind of flute coming through. So I mean, it's nice to see that influence is still
it's still there.
It's still there as well.
Well, it's part of me. Well, you know, part of my makeup. So.
Yeah. So what's the new album going to be called, Steve?
Right.
Come on.
No. It's already got a title. It's already got a title. Sun One.
Sun One, I like it.
Sun One. S-O-N.
Yeah.
Which is my initials.
Yeah.
And one, as in one. Yeah.
Sun
O-N-E.
One.
Sun
like
One.
it. And live gigs. What's
live
coming
gigs definitely next year.
Yeah.
Yep. There'll be Steve Nicol shows next year.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
In the UK? Or
in the UK, definitely in the UK and abroad as well.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah.
And will there be any guests joining you, Steve? Any guests from the past?
Any guests from the past? There might be. You never know.
Right,
you never know. You never know.
Okay.
But there will definitely be a lot of guest musicians playing.
And one question which I know that many Loose Ends fans will want to know: is there any chance of like a Loose Ends reunion?
I think that ship has sailed.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Finally, it has sailed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. Brilliant.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I've got a question. There's going to be hopefully a lot of people watching this and listening to this who are younger than us. As someone who's obviously still got a really strong career ahead of you, any advice you would give as someone that's also had some experience to young musicians, young music makers, young beat makers who want to get into this crazy thing called the music business?
One thing I'll say, my phrase is, be a voice, not an echo.
Wow.
That's profound.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, that was cool.
Yeah, that's really quick. That's really good. Yeah, he's been thinking about this.
Yeah, be a voice, not an echo.
Okay.
So, Steve, it's been so amazing talking to you. I know that it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
We're loving the new stuff that's coming
Pleasure's
out.
mine.
Yeah, it's amazing to meet you. So, thank you so much for coming in to
welcome.
see us today. Keep making that music, and thank you as well for all of the music you've done. I know.
Honestly, we'll be playing it till we're 90 years old.
Yeah, absolutely, and it still
thank you.
sounds fantastic
Thanks
today.
very much.
So thank you, Steve Nicol. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure's
Thank
mine.
you. Thank you.
Brand new day, bring the game into